Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly as part of our Roadmap to Recovery series. And I'm joined today by Alistair Rowland from Blue Bay Travel, by Rob Kenton from Triangle Travel, and by Kelly Cooks from the Advantage Travel Partnership. So hello, everyone. Great to have you all here. I wanted to get an agent's perspective on the release of the green list, which we saw on Friday. And to find out, what has been happening, I guess, in the last few days or over the weekend since. So if I can come to you, Alistair, were you surprised by that list?
I was disappointed by the list, Lucy, as I think most of us were. And certainly Mr. Shapps didn't get anybody added to his Christmas card list, did he, in terms of talking about agents as something of the past. But in general, I think government a month ago would have been far better to have said we're delaying till June rather than actually announcing nothing at all. And it's just a shame it was local elections, really, because I think there'd have been quite a pushback that would have got some cut through over the weekend and clearly didn't. But really, to announce 12 countries, many of which you can't even get to if you try very hard. Really, there were 4 countries. This was about Portugal in the main, wasn't it? So in general, yes, we support the fact that international travel is opening of sorts, but it was disappointing.
Okay, is that how you also feel, Rob?
No, I always thought it was going to be along these lines. I think it's sensible. Half term's only around the corner. A mass exodus over half term, I think, could be a PR nightmare for us. So, as Alistair said, yeah, disappointed, but I was expecting it. I think it eases us back in gradually.
Okay, but obviously there'd been a lot of speculation, hadn't there, Kelly? I mean, they were talking about 20. One report was 20 to 30 destinations. So I think people, I know people were sort of changing their bookings beforehand and trying to get in because they thought that country was going to be on a green list, and I'm sure you saw some of that. So, I mean, how helpful is that kind of speculation? And then to obviously get just 12 destinations, and to Alistair's point, most of which you can't even go to.
I think my personal view is it's not helpful at all. I think, one of the things that we're all working really hard to do at the moment is to build consumer confidence. And what we don't want is for them to be placing bookings or moving bookings on the back of what isn't official information. We all desperately want to, have a guess at what's going to be on the list or try and follow the data. And I think we're all doing it internally, trying to follow that data and make predictions so that we can make sure that our marketing is in the right place. But actually, I think, ultimately, you don't really know what's going to happen until that press conference happens. And that was an absolute demonstration of it on Friday night. We had heard lots of different rumours, everything from 2 to 20 destinations were going to be green, about what was going to be amber, about what was going to be red, about potential corridors. And ultimately, all that does is damage consumer confidence and confidence in the industry, having the expertise and the knowledge. I think it's about us sticking to what we know and being able to advise the customers how to get to the destinations that are on that approved list, rather than almost predicting what are going to be on the approved list.
Okay, all right. So Alistair, with Kelly's just pointed out there's the green, the amber, and the red, and there still seems to be some confusion about, and obviously travel's no longer illegal, which is a good thing. It is going to restart on the 17th, which they promised. I know you're saying you'd rather they'd have just not done that and kept it till June, but you can now go to an amber destination, can't you, as long as you're prepared to isolate on return. So as travel agents, are you now selling to amber destinations as well as green, or are you holding fire on that? Can you perhaps just clear up the confusion around what you could do to an amber destination?
I think consumers, really savvy consumers, will take advantage of amber because they're likely to get sensibly priced flights, unlike Portugal now, it's about 600 quid a flight, I think. And provided that they're working at home, the difference really is the cost of the second PCR test. So in general, when you look at even kind of BA, just, corporate example, they're very clear. We are flying to green and amber where there isn't, FCDO advice against all but essential travel. So I think that's completely fine. I look at our portfolio in Blue Bay Travel, and right now, Barbados, St. Lucia, Antigua, Sri Lanka, Phuket are all opportunities for current summer, where before the announcement on Friday, the earliest kind of the earliest flight where we're putting volume into is probably November. So I think the consumers will be able to take a choice, and the soft government line of "you shouldn't" really is very weak and very poor. And the fact that Foreign Office advice hasn't been linked up to traffic lights is actually very telling. So I think agents, operators will be giving consumers the choice, and those consumers that want to go current summer will get a great deal for current summer where advice allows.
Okay, and so you're comfortable selling a holiday to an amber destination as long as that customer understands they're going to have to just pay for a test and isolate at home. So that would be fine for you.
Provided, yes, and we'll be supporting the cost of PCR tests, as part of that. But like insurers, will follow Foreign Office advice rather than government narrative.
Okay, all right. And Rob, you mentioned before that you were busy doing rebooking. So what was the impact, the practical impact, when you had the list on 5 o'clock on Friday? What did you have? Lots of people then having to change their holiday plans, and you've been working hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people in the summer that are looking at changing from destinations like Greece. It's big for us, Greece, Spain, Italy, for July, August. We're just saying just hold tight at the moment. I really do believe that this is all about half term. A gradual release. It makes sense. The airports aren't overwhelmed. We don't have an outbreak anywhere, and that's bad for PR. And just gradually see what the next one. I think Alistair said it earlier that the next round will be the telling tale. The countries that are lifted there. I think that's the real true reflection of it.
Okay, and Kelly, have you got? I mean, like Rob, do you the next review? I think with 3 weeks' time, so it'll be the end of the month. I guess for travel from June the 7th, I think. So, are you confident that the more destinations will be added? And there was some talk, wasn't there, about them treating islands differently to the mainland destinations, which would obviously help because some of the islands have got lower rates that they could come on. So, are you sort of holding out for that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say confident, definitely hopeful. We all know that we need some more of those destinations to make it the summer season that the agent community and the industry so desperately need. What we are seeing at the moment is that it's very, very late. So we saw 25% of our business over the weekend was to Portugal. So I think we know the pent-up demand is there, and we've all talked about that a lot. But even the slight sign of being able to get somewhere started to see that come through and book. But we do, to Alistair's point, we do still see bookings coming through to other destinations that are amber. So we had a good weekend on Spain. We had a decent weekend on Greece. They are further out, so people aren't booking for May and June, but from July onwards, people are booking those destinations. What we're doing this morning is now trying to go through all of the supplier policies just to make sure that we're advising customers that are potentially booking an amber destination exactly what flexibility there is in place should that either remain amber or change. So I think there's still quite a lot to work through, and I certainly had a few panicked phone calls from agents on Friday night and Saturday around what information they should be giving to customers. So I think the delivery of the press conference was quite difficult in terms of amber. The messaging around amber was not what we expected it to be and what we'd almost prepared our comms for. So we had to do a bit of a backtrack to make people comfortable with what they were advising in terms of amber. But absolutely, people are still booking those destinations.
Because Shap said that it wasn't, he was advising against for leisure travel to go to an amber destination. So that's obviously, concerned your members.
Yeah, I think we were expecting that to be a slightly softer message around you can go to amber destinations, and for leisure travel they're open, but there are extra precautions in place. I think
right.
He threw everybody when he kind of went with we don't recommend you travel to an amber destination for leisure. That wasn't what we were expecting that to be, which meant that we had to reword quite a lot of the information that went out.
do you think that was just his phraseology or his terminology that he used? Do you see what I mean? Like, was it because of that it just came across that way, or is it really, was it a really deliberate, policy that he was trying to sort of get across?
Yeah, I think his delivery and wording wasn't great in general across the whole of the press conference. I mean, we saw the bit about the agent comment, and he got some of the terminology a little bit muddled up later in the briefing. But I do actually think that they want to dissuade people from going to those amber destinations at the moment. What he didn't cover was what that will look like later. So I think all he was saying really is we don't encourage travel to amber destinations right now from the 17th of May. But it was obviously quite a loose comment, so it could have been interpreted in 100 different ways, and it absolutely was, even talking to our members.
Yeah, now it falls to you to try and pick through that and explain it to your members. And on that point about price, Alistair, you said you were seeing these flights to Portugal now up to 600 quid. So, that will make, consumers will see that, and then they'll presumably start panicking about getting their booking in now so they don't get stung with a higher price when these other destinations come online. So, what is your advice when customers are ringing up about booking, because they don't want to be in that sort of trap if prices are going to go up through the roof when every time a destination is added onto the green list?
No, true, and I think the next time media comes around to talking about travel, that'll clearly be one of the headlines, that prices will generally go up when things open up, and I'm actually with Rob in that I do think this is about May half term. Just personally, I wish they hadn't have bothered with it, and if everybody could have got used to, a mid-June start point, that would have been helpful. But in general, the narrative is going to be it's a very late, and actually, as things open up, things are going to get quite expensive quite quickly. So for now, the cohort of customers to look at are those who will take a gamble, and what I mean by that is amber is difficult because in general, if you're following the rules, even package travel regs, you're on an amendment rather than a refund on the basis of amber, where Foreign Office advice is okay. So, but those customers who want to go away and get a great deal while the flight is underpriced by, let's say, £200, can do that. So I think our advice, and certainly our agents' advice, here is to just make sure that consumers are absolutely clear what they're doing. They're booking it, they know it probably will go, and certainly most of our stuff is late summer into 22 and even 23 now. But those people who want to go fairly early on, they know they're going to get a great price, and if anything happens, they'll be able to amend that no cost, but not refund. So we're being very clear up front with that. I think we all should do that, because down the line there's going to be loads of complexity around how insurance judge it, package travel regs, Foreign Office advice, government narrative. None of it joins up, and it was really difficult last summer, as we all know.
Yeah, I mean, I know we'll come on to talk about some of the fumbled bits that Shap said and some of his terminology in just a second, but he did appear to be saying, though, at one point that booking, through an expert, with a really good terms and conditions, and making, every time he said book, he said make sure you do it with a company that you really trust and you've checked all the terms and conditions. So is that something that you can you can work with, Rob? Do you think customers will see that and go, okay, I better go with a travel agent? Do you think you'll get a sort of bit of a windfall in that respect? I know he said it awkwardly, but that's what I think he was trying to get across.
Yeah, I think we have seen since the last couple of weeks, really, most people come into us and saying, I used to do it online. I used to use a company where I booked the accommodation separately, bought the flights off the airline. I don't want to do that any longer. I want the protection. So I think anybody with ABTA and ATOL is going to benefit hugely out of all of this, as long as you promote that it's a package, and what Alistair just said, if it goes green to amber, you can amend. If it goes amber to red, you can amend, refund, and just go down those lines and make that clear from word go, and people will have confidence in you.
And you're seeing people, they're coming in, and are they then committing? Are they just asking at the minute, or are they actually saying, all right, that sounds reasonable, so I'll book?
September, October onwards, you can sell quite easily. June,
right.
it is a struggle, but again, as long as we give that clarity to them and be upfront with them, that's the first conversation we have with them. This is the position at the moment. Green to amber, you can amend, amber to red, amend, refund. And they're quite happy with that. I think the two things we're picking up is book local or book with somebody you trust. That is really key. We've got lots of people coming, I want to support my local travel agent, and B, they want that protection.
Brilliant. All right. Well, that is, I know it's been tough. So any good news we'll take at the minute, won't we? Kelly, same sort of question for you. Are your members seeing, or based on what Grant Shapp said around, that protected, that experience, that trusted sort of makes your booking is all of those things. Is that sort of helping your members?
Yeah, it is. And I think very similar to what Rob's just said, we've been pushing that message right since the beginning of the pandemic, that booking through that human travel agent that can hold your hand through this is going to be vital. And, we've not just got the pandemic. Most people are traveling for the first time post-Brexit. There's so many different things in play here. What we are seeing is the average age of people go down. So I think most members have got that core group of customers, but they're bringing in more younger customers. We've seen that over the last 12 months. So those people that perhaps would have been more tech savvy, more comfortable booking online, even if our member has a website, they might have gone on and done a search online, but they still want to go in and speak to somebody before committing. So I think, like you said, if we are to take a positive, it's that there is a huge opportunity for agents moving forwards in the role that we play coming out of this.
Okay. All right, Alistair, let's just move on to the whole issue around testing. And, there's a lot of talk today, well, has been for a while around, why is a lateral flow test not enough? It's good enough for kids to go back to schools. Why is it not good enough to go on holiday? And obviously we've got people even like Advantage and tour operators trying to get the cost of a PCR test down. You said you were going to sort of support that as well. So what are customers saying about the testing? Is it really off-putting? Is it the cost? Is it the hassle? What do they want from you guys?
I think it's certainly a frustration. Normally in kind of long haul, there's a lot of requirements, some for PCR on entry. So it is quite normal. I think what would be helpful, two things really. Government to just decide, are they taking the VAT off or are they not? Are they going to have preferred providers or not? If you look at the list is miles long. There's still no clarity over whether it's the PCR test that tests for variants or not. And actually, those first couple of providers, the one that offered a £45 price and £60 price, Randox, why wouldn't you go with them? Because they were first to move. But in general, I think the industry should keep pressure on government to move to lateral flow. Frankly, I think a postal PCR test is probably no better. Anybody could do it, couldn't they? You're only posting it off, and therefore I don't think it's adding a lot, apart from it's adding to the government narrative of limiting the view of consumers bringing back a variant. And they're not going to add anything to the green list in any country that's got any sign of variant. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. It is a barrier, probably more a barrier in short haul than long haul when you kind of average it against the total cost of the trip. But it just needs some clarity. So 45 quid, so 60 minus the VAT, probably be all right. But frankly, while consumers can get lateral flow tests, NHS ones for free, for me, that would be fine in green destinations. Probably PCR from amber onwards might make more sense.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Rob? I mean, what are your customers saying? Is it off-putting for them?
Not the price. It's understanding what's required.
Yeah.
When they first come in, we have to sit down. You need X, Y, and Z. And once they understand that, it's not a hurdle. I completely agree with Alistair. It has to be lateral flow antigen tests. I think they've used the phrase "bring a bottle," as in bring a test on holiday. It should be the way forward for green, and I think that's the way it will end up by the time we get to July, August.
Do you? Okay, all right, that would be good. And how would you feel about that, Kelly? You've just struck this deal. You've brought testing down to 40 is your cost that you've got?
Well, so, yeah, the 45 and 60. I think the issue we've got with testing, and I heard quite a scary stat around it, is that 41% of tests that are returned by post using Royal Mail do not get to the lab on time to be processed. So I think we've got an issue with the efficiency as well, to make sure that we don't end up with customers that don't have a result to be able to travel on holiday. And we saw that last year. So it's also understanding what those different test providers do in terms of guarantees around turning around the results. But yeah, absolutely, lateral flow would be what we would want. I think even if we could get to an interim position whereby they allowed lateral flow and there was a commitment from the customer that if they got a positive result, they would then do a PCR so that it could be studied. But I think that lateral flow is going to be the game changer for the summer, particularly for the family market that do have children over 11, because then you are looking at everybody in your party having to travel, having to test, sorry. So that really does push up the cost.
Costly. Although interesting, your point about that kind of service levels, because I was speaking to Steve Heapy from Jet2, and he was saying, you can get the price down, anyone can get a really good deal, but he's not convinced yet that he can get this absolute guarantee on it being returned in time, and doesn't want to offer a really cheap test if actually he still might be saying to his customers, sorry, you haven't got it back in time, so you can't go. So I think that the point you make is universally held. All right, we're coming up to time. I do want to just pick up on the language that Grant Shapps used. Alistair, you've referenced it, or well, both of you, all of you have. I think it's what you would have called a travel agent in the past. It's really, really touched a nerve. I mean, it's been all over social media, people posting pictures of their shop front saying, we do still exist. There's thousands of us all over the UK. We just let that pass, Alistair, or is it more serious? Does it suggest he really doesn't quite understand our industry still?
Yeah, I think it's a real own goal. He's no fan, is he, really, of the business that he's trying to talk up, to be honest. But he's also got a constituency, hasn't he? And in that constituency, undoubtedly, in the high street, there are some travel agents and probably smaller tour operators operating online businesses in there as well. So to have the lack of knowledge that he just, couldn't articulate that, is really damaging, I think. And social media over the weekend has been incredibly powerful, and I just hope that gets back to government, because to have a Secretary of State for Transport that doesn't understand the food chain in his own business is really poor, and he should absolutely be called out for it, as he quite rightly has been. And the industry just needs to keep that up and push for a response from DfT, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly, he also referred to vouchers again, even though it's been 14 months of us trying to explain it's refund credit notes and explaining the difference, and yet he still referred to vouchers, which again has really riled people.
It has. I think we've all spent about probably 60% of the last 12 months talking to customers about what the difference between these different things are. So it's really frustrating. And I mean, that travel agent comment, you could almost have missed it, couldn't you, if you weren't listening? He almost stumbled over it, and it has got to be raised. And, we've already spoken this morning to SPAA and ABTA, and it will be raised through the official channels. And he does need to understand that if he is going to stand up and represent an industry, he has got to understand the different stakeholders within that industry. I mean, I would like to say that I think after doing this, I don't think he'll ever forget, because the amount of public outcry there's been has hopefully hammered that message home. But yeah, really disappointing to be 14 months down the line and him still making comments like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was also a call over the weekend that because there were so few countries on the green list, and therefore you can't really restart your businesses in the way that you would like to, that we should get some more support from the government. I mean, it feels like silly asking this question, but because it's not been forthcoming, has it, till now? But Rob, do you think, is it worth still trying to get some more sort of sector-specific support, some financial support from the government, or is that absolutely sailed now?
I've run out of ink, I think, in my pens that I've written to the MPs, and I get the same thing back. There's no appetite for travel. The consumer has been for a very long period of time, not wanting to travel. So why should the government do anything to help? I think that's changing slightly, and as that narrative from the customer changes, the government has to change in what they do around travel, and start to open things up. For us, no, there's no chance. I wouldn't waste our energy, to be frankly honest with you. It's dead in the water.
Okay, so move on and just concentrate on what you can do, I guess.
I don't mean to be negative on it, but we've been going at this. I think we came into it in the wrong position as an industry. I think we didn't have Advantage and Travel Network Group and all of those have been in the Save Travel. We've done so many different things, but I think it was just too late. We came into it the wrong position, and I don't think we can change it now.
Okay, well, as chairman of ABTA, do you agree, Alistair?
Yeah, it certainly isn't column inches, is it? Because the push from the industry through all of the vehicles we've used, Save Future Travel probably being the best one, haven't been heard. But it's the unfairness, really, and that's the lack of knowledge about the stakeholders in the business. So the hairdresser next door getting 8,000, the travel agency getting 2,000. It's just fundamentally unfair. So lobbying is lobbying. You never get a direct response. You push as hard as you can, you get the response that you get, but it doesn't mean that we won't continue to try, and we will continue to try. But, as Rob says, you can only hit your head against a wall so many times. And I do think government see the tourism industry as entrepreneurial. So therefore, when it recovers, it will recover quickly. That's probably the way they see it. But it's fundamentally unfair to all those businesses that have worked so hard in the last year. So from an ABTA standpoint, it will continue to remain on the list for the direct dialogue that we have with DFT, and has to be honest, even if we don't get over the line with it.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's good to hear.
Alistair, do you mind if I ask a question? Do you think we could have come into this in a stronger position on the lobbying front?
Do I think?
Sorry, do you think we could have come in a stronger position on the lobbying front at the start of this, or was our hand weak when we came into it? I mean, the airline industry have been strong lobbying for a long time, but us as agents or us as tour operators haven't.
No, I think where we lose traction in government, Rob, is the lack of ministry, to be honest. So, it's spread between, DFT, a bit of Foreign Office, a bit of, it's 3 or 4 agencies that we talk to, and nobody has responsibility for outbound tourism. The best is an inbound tourism, lower level minister. So I don't think anybody really, even the power of the airlines, and you'll see that they did their pitch on Friday morning before the Friday night, announcement, still got nowhere. And so I don't think I've seen a greater effort, frankly, but no ministry is really damaging. And if there's one thing that government could look at, on their way out of this, it's 40 billion in revenues that they're going to be missing, and they've got nobody focused on it particularly, apart from the guy that does the trains and the motorways. So it just doesn't work, does it? So hopefully that will be the output.
I mean, I got a letter from the DFT today about the grants. Sorry, Luce, to ramble on now, but about the grants, and I was just told that travel agents can't be put into that sector grant alongside the pubs. No reason why. That was just that line, So where do you go from there? Write another letter? It just keeps going on and on, doesn't it?
Yeah, you just have to continue to fight, and that's what, on behalf of ABTA, that we'll do. But Save Future Travel isn't just ABTA; they're a representative amongst a number of very senior representatives, and you look at the work Paul Charles has done separately on behalf of airlines. So some really good, very powerful lobbying, but nothing has cracked through, has it? So we are where we are. It doesn't mean we won't continue to try.
And Kelly, what does that mean for some of your members then? Because obviously people were kind of hanging their hopes a little bit on a good restart on the 17th. Does it put that some people into real peril, into jeopardy? Because I know you've always been saying that people are right on the edge. They can't go on for much longer. You know, they need a good summer. So are you now sort of a bit worried based on Friday's announcement, or will everybody limp on it, I guess, till the next review?
I think the latter, really. I think it's about us getting some summer season in general, not so much this first announcement. It's about what happens over the next couple of announcements. And we know it's going to be very late. Everyone's prepared for that. But what we do need to see is some movement and some extension to the green list and some clarity around the amber list so that we can get people away for the summer. And I think if we don't get a summer season, that's when we are going to be more concerned about, you know, what it looks like, because then we've effectively gone through 3 winters going into the 4th winter, which travel businesses were never geared up to do. So I think it's not about this May update, it's just about what happens over the next 6-8 weeks following this, really.
All right, well, everyone's nodding, so we'll leave it there. Let's hope we do get some more countries on the green list and a bit more clarity, but we're really grateful for your time and we wish you all the best. So thank you to Alistair from Blue Bay Travel, to Rob from Triangle Travel, and to Kelly from the Advantage Travel Partnership. Thanks, everyone.